Prophet makes a plea to the nation. Our divine and national movement stands for the specific grand principles of love, peace, freedom, and justice. And I, the prophet, am applying to all loyal, faithful Moors, members, and American citizens to help me in my great uplifting acts of uplifting fallen humanity among the Asiatic race and nation. For I have suffered much and severely in the past through misunderstanding of what the movement was dedicated to. It is the great God Allah alone that guides the destiny of this divine and national movement. I know all true American citizens are identified by national descent names to answer and apply to the free national constitution for this free national republic of the United States of America. That's why I'm calling on all true national citizens to help me morally, financially, in my great work I am doing to help this national government. For without a free national name, without a descent flag of your forefathers, there is not a national divine title of the government in which we live. This is from your true and divine prophet unto all American foreign sympathizers, Prophet Noble Jew Ali, Islam. All right, so I wanted to go into 7 elements of jurisdiction again. We went over this a couple weeks ago, but I feel that based on where everybody's at in this particular group, that it would be a good refresher. Good refresher. Let me see. Where did Benjamin go? Let me see. Hey, I just saw him. Oh, there you go. Okay. I knew I wasn't tripping. I know I seen him come up in here. Brother Benjamin Bay, Islam, how you doing, man?
Peace, peace, Islam, Islam. Just at the joke, that's all. That's why my picture isn't on there, but I'm here. Islam to everybody out there.
Islam.
Islam.
So yeah, once again, I felt like 7 elements of jurisdiction to be a good refresher for everybody based on the level this particular group is at. So let's get into it. 7 elements of jurisdiction. An affirmative responsibility of any national or citizen is to adhere and to enforce the principles embodied within the national constitution of his or her national government, nation state, or society at large. This proposition embodies a primal rule in civilization and involves the duties and of citizenship. This proposition embodies a primal rule of civilization and involves the duties and of citizenship. I repeated that because the brother came in, Brother Rashad, Islam, Rashad, L.
Islam, everybody.
Islam. Constitutions are designed to maintain justice, peace, and harmony within a social order or body politic. Therefore, for directives and social duties and for general intersocial instruction, the advent or arrival of the universal orientated science of government. That science is called civics, nationhood, citizenship, nationality, public service, politics, economics, and organized government in general, constitute the science and discipline called civics. Constitutions are set forth to designate authority to those who govern and to delegate limits of authority to each and every specific office or seat. The Constitution does not give rights to the nationals and citizens. Constitutions are in place to preserve the divine and natural rights that already exist by national and divine law. Constitutions are generally written to harmonize with nature's law and nature's God. important aspects of the American Constitution that express the essence of it construct or demonstrated in Article 3 and Article 6. In relationship to limitations of delegated authority, the readers and scholars will find that these articles strongly deal with the issue of jurisdiction. Although the subject of jurisdiction is not limited to them, however, the intended preservation of the substantive rights of the people have been and are addressed with the established principles expressed within these articles. Supportive of these articles are the Bill of Rights, which is comprised of 10 amendments. These should be studied intently whenever any controversy arises concerning jurisdiction. Jurisdiction is the power to act, and more succinctly, the authority to do or to act in relationship to the limited authority assigned to a political seat, a judgeship, a court, to a trust, to any position in relationships to such exercises. The following relate to the secure rights of the people as embodied within the American Constitution. Whenever anyone is accused of a crime or charged with an offense, the following rules are to be known, preserved, followed, and acknowledged as they are firmly in accord with the supreme law of the land. So let's look at some of these. So the accused must be properly identified. The accused must be properly identified. The accused must be properly identified in such a fashion there is no room for mistaken identity. The individual must be singled out from all others. Otherwise, anyone could be subject to arrest and trial without benefit of wrong party defense. Almost always, the means of identification is a person's proper name. But if any means of identification is equally valid, if said means differentiates the accused without doubt, there is no constitutionality valid requirement. You must identify yourself. And you can see the Fourth Amendment. You can also see Brown versus Texas, and also Collender versus Lawson, dealing with, not showing ID at all. But since I'm a realist, I'm not going to tell you not to show an ID. Based on experience, showing a nationality card, it would be better than not showing nothing. It opens the door to the Department of State Consular Notification and Access Manual, which opens the door to the treaties and the rights of indigenous people when you show a nationality card. 2, the statute of offense must be identified by its proper or common name. A number is insufficient. So when we hear penal code, you violated a number, that's not sufficient because it's back to the injured party that made a sworn affidavit against you, stating you did X, Y, Z. Today, a citizen may stand in jeopardy of criminal sanctions for alleged violation of statutes, regulations, or even low-level bureaucratic orders. Example, Colorado National Monument Superintendent's orders regarding an unleashed dog or a dog defecating on a trail. If a number were to be deemed sufficient, government could bring new and different charges at any time by alleging clerical error. For any act to be triable as an offense, it must be declared to be a crime. Charges must negate any exception from part of the statutory definition of an offense by affirmative non-applicability. In other words, any charge must affirmatively negate any exception found in law. Transitioning Any questions before I transition to number 3? Everybody clear on 1 and 2 so far? All right. So an offense or nature of charge must be intelligently described. The acts of alleged offense must be described in non-prejudicial language and detail so as to enable a person of average intelligence to understand the nature of the charge, to enable preparation for defense. The actual act or acts constituting the offense complained of. The charge must not be described by parroting a statute or parroting the statute, not by the language of the same. The naming of the acts of the offense describes a specific offense, whereas the verbiage of a statute describes only a general class of offense. Facts must be stated. Conclusions cannot be considered in the determination of probable cause. And reiterating probable cause will be the 4th and 5th Amendment collectively. Accuser must be positively identified. The accuser must be named. He, she, the accuser may be an officer or a third party, but some positively identifiable person or human being must accuse. Some certain person must take responsibility for making the accusation, not an agency or an institution. Right, so back to the 6th Amendment, have the right to face your accuser. Back to Scherer versus Cullen, which is a case law. There's no injured party, there's no crime. So the DA is not an injured party. Most of the time the DA is acting once again like an injured party. But he's not the one filing a claim against you saying you injured him or his property. It's been alleged, like we just said earlier, that it's a statute with a number on it. And that's not human. That's not also, when you look at most of these municipalities, what it called cities, they have what you call a charter. So you can look up your city's charter, or not your city, I shouldn't say it like that, or the municipality, the municipal corporation doing business as a city. When you look at their charter, you're going to see that, for one, they say they're a municipal corporation. 2, they have board members, they got bylaws. And if you're not part of that, you're not part of that. So to injure a municipal corporation, you're not injuring a human being. Now, you can injure a human being as part of a corporation, that's a member, but that's a whole nother situation. Any questions on that? All right, so this is the only valid means by which a citizen may begin to face his accuser. Also, the injured party or corpus delicti must make the accusation. Hearsay evidence may not be provided. Anyone else testifying that they heard that another party was injured does not qualify as direct evidence. The accusation must be made under penalty of perjury. The accusation must be made under penalty of perjury. If perjury cannot reach the accuser, there is no accusation. Otherwise, anyone could accuse another falsely without risk. Transitioning, the accused must be afforded due process. To comply with the 5 elements above that are for the accusation to be valid, the accused must be accorded due process. Accuser must have complied with law, procedure, and form in bringing the charge. This includes court-determined probable cause, summons, and notice procedure. If lawful process may be abrogated in placing a citizen in jeopardy, then any means may be utilized to deprive a man of his freedom. And all dissent may be stifled by utilization of a defective process. So I mentioned the Fourth and Fifth Amendment. Once again, whoever is not clear on due process, it's a human being, sworn affidavit saying you did something to them or their property, goes to a grand jury decides to indict. Then you get hit with paperwork or a summons or a notice. Any of those steps are missing, it's a violation of due process. And if it's a violation of due process, the case must be thrown out. The essential elements of due process are notice and an opportunity to defend. You can see Simon versus Kraft, United States Supreme Court case, to coincide with that fact. One is not entitled to protection unless he has reasonable cause to apprehend danger from a direct answer. The mere assertion of a privilege does not immunize him. The court must determine whether his refusal is justified and may require that he is mistaken in his refusal. Hoffman versus United States goes into that as well. Supreme Court case in 1951. Transitioning. Any questions on that before I transition? The court must be competent. The court must be of competent jurisdiction, proper delegation of authority. The court must be one of competent jurisdiction to have valid process. The tribunal must be a creature of its constitution. So most tribunals, they're gonna hide behind the state constitution, the state of. So that's why I advise everybody in here to even read that, even though we know the Constitution trumps the state one, but there's always lingo in their state constitution that the state constitution must be in harmony with the federal constitution. It's always verbiage like that. I don't care what state constitution you look up. It's all roads lead back to the Constitution at large. Creature of the Constitution in accord with the law of its creation, i.e., Article 3 judge. Lacking any of the 7 elements or portions thereof, unless waived intentionally, of course, or unintentionally. All designed to ensure against further prosecution or double jeopardy. And that's another element of the Fifth Amendment. I know we heard when we were smaller, the lingo of I plead the fifth. I plead the fifth. And this is what this is, the people talking about, double jeopardy and the Fifth Amendment and stuff like that. And the right not to incriminate yourself, right? I plead the fifth. It is the defendant's duty to inform the court of all facts alleged for determination of sufficiency to support conviction, should one be obtained. Otherwise, there is no lawful notice, and charge must be dismissed for failure to state an offense. Without lawful notice, there is no personal jurisdiction, and all proceedings prior to filing of a proper trial document in compliance with the 7 elements are void. A lawful act is always legal, but many legal acts by government are often unlawful. Most bureaucrats lack elementary knowledge and incentive to comply with mandates of constitutional due process. They will make mistakes, Numbers beyond count have been convicted without benefit of governmental adherence to these 7 elements. Today, informations are being filed and prosecuted by accepted practice rather than due process of law. Transitioning. Do not assume that attorneys or lawyers are working in the client's best interest. See corpus juris secundum. The attorney's first duty is to the corpse and the public, not the client. And whenever the duties to his client conflict with those he owes as an officer of the court in the administration of justice, the former must yield to the latter. Clients are also called wards. So the clients of attorneys are also called wards of the court in regard to their relationship with their attorney. Transitioning. Do not assume that the court officers are competent or legitimate. Once again, see corpus juris secundum. Assumes court will operate in the lawful matter. If the accused makes this assumption, he may learn to his detriment through experience that certain questions of law, including the question of personal jurisdiction, may never be raised and addressed, especially if the accused is represented by the bar. Sometimes licensed counsel appears to take on the characteristics of a fox guarding the henhouse, right? So, and experience, once again, experience is the best teacher. Like I say, I've been in multiple courtrooms, and they all play the same type of game until it's very apparent that you're competent, and then it takes another direction. But they're gonna try to play you. They're gonna definitely try to skip due process, skip the delegation of authority. They're gonna try to just move on fast as possible and see if you're diligent enough to pump the brakes every time. It's tedious, but these are the games they play to see if you pass the sniff test, I like to say, or you know what you're talking about. Jurisdiction must be proven upon challenge. Jurisdiction once challenged is to be proven, not by the court, but by the party attempting to assert jurisdiction. The burden of proof of jurisdiction lies with the assertor. The court is only to rule on the sufficiency of the proof tendered. And you can see McNutt versus General Motors acceptance corpse. The origin of this doctrine of law may be found in Maxfield versus Levy as well. Any questions on 7 elements of jurisdiction? Any comments, questions on 7 elements of jurisdiction? So if there's no questions, I'm a deem that everybody's an expert in this area.
Islam Noble. I just want to say, in California 5 years ago, I caught like a pistol case out there. I was on probation for 3 years. Year and a half, I went in. They told me, a year and 12, 3 months less than a year and a half. I went in. They said come back in a year and a half. Came back 3 months later. I put in a special appearance. I followed some procedures. I was listening to some Moors was talking about, and I actually beat the case. So they went up in there and they for sure let me off of probation. When I challenged the jurisdiction, they let me go back to Texas, man. So I just want to attest it. Yeah, this is factual. So ever since I came back from Cali, I've been rock and rolling because of this right here. It worked for me, and it happened. So yeah, it's one.
Wow. Benjamin Bay. No, I feel you, man. Okay, that's good data. That's good data right there. Brother Salim. And that's really what's valuable, because it's a lot of information out here. But until you actually have a live demonstration, there's nothing really to really talk about. Like, it's not really an experience. So, any type of testimonies like that is valuable. Actually looking basically your oppressor in the face and staying diligent with the truth, man.
Islam, everybody in the courtroom was surprised. They was looking at me clapping on the low because they couldn't believe like why or how these people just let me off of probation just because I was supposedly from out of town, man. But nah, it's real, man. Islam.
Islam. Empress Shuja, I need to hear some thoughts. What you digest out of this?
I mean, I'm not gonna say I don't get into nothing where the law get involved, but I do know a lot of people that get into things. So I'm just kind of getting educated on it, like going through it. Because I guess it'll be different if, say, like I went through something where I could just say, well, yeah, I get it,
Mhm.
So I'm just digesting everything basically.
Are you clear what due process is?
Yes. Yes. I've definitely heard it a lot before. So
Okay.
it's just I'm kind of it's kind of like I guess I'm kind of trying to digest it as with the nationality thing.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm kind of looking at it differently versus being on the other side. And you know, I don't know if I'm saying it right.
Well, let me phrase a question. What is due process?
Oh my God. Hold up, let me put this. Due process. Oh my goodness, I can't believe you put me on the spot. I'm sorry.
No, if you don't know, you don't know. We just want to see where everybody at, you know.
I'm gonna have to go over it again because you kind of threw me off just now. I was trying to put this stuff up and listen to you at the same time.
No, it's good. I'm gonna ask two more people, and then I'll just say it. I'll reiterate it again. Brother Rashad L, how you doing over there, man? Brother Rashad L,
How we doing? How we doing?
how we doing, man? So I want to phrase a question to you. What is due process?
So it's pretty much like say like fair treatment. I guess that's like the definition of it.
So let me ask it like this: what would be the procedures to know due process is being fairly handed out or being implemented, rather?
That's a good question. I guess that would be these 7 elements that you're going over.
True. Part true.
Um,
True. Now, if you don't know, that's fair.
yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure as well.
I'm
I'm
just
still
giving
learning as well. That's yeah. And I pretty much came in like when you were going over like the fifth and sixth uh, elements. I didn't really catch the beginning of it.
Okay, it's all good. It's all good. Just want to see where everybody at. Brother Sharif, Gamble, Bay,
Peace.
peace, slime, man. So let me phrase the same question to you. What is due process? What is due process? What are the elements of it?
I guess like they have to like take like steps before they could violate you, and like they partners back them up, I guess.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Matazamaji Ill, what is due process? All right, maybe she's not available right now. Jalissa? Empress Jalissa, what is?
I
due
think
process?
you better.
So basically with due process, it is a
You better go
structure
find
of
something to
how
put on your
things should be, of course, done. But for example, an affidavit has to be completed, the other party has to be notified of whatever the if it's damaged property or to that person. And then after they've been notified, then they go to a grand jury, and then the grand jury, of course, makes the decision on who to prosecute or how it's basically handled.
Fire. Fire. You can't hear the round of applause I'm giving you, but I'm giving you one. I'm definitely giving you
Islam.
what I'm talking about. All right, so once again, if y'all want to take notes on what I'm gonna reiterate what the fourth due process is. So essentially, the Fourth Amendment and Fifth Amendment collectively, or Fourth, Fifth, and Sixth Amendment actually, collectively is due process. So what does the Fourth Amendment say? It talks about private property and the issue must be a warrant must be issued with someone that took an oath to the Constitution, placed in a specific place to be searched. All right. Now the Fifth Amendment, even though it's after the Fourth, it talks about stuff that happened before that, right? You must be indicted by a grand jury. And once you're indicted, then a summons. Now the Sixth Amendment, the reason I say they're collective, because the Sixth Amendment talks about the right to cross-examine your accuser or face your accuser. And when you're talking to face your accuser, you're talking injured party. So that's why I say collectively, Fourth, Fifth, and Sixth collectively tells a story, Islam. You know what I'm saying? So that's what due process is, right? Not only being charged by a human being, but also being a written affidavit from that human being. And then it gets heard by a grand jury, and then it's an indictment, and then a summons. And then you hear the case, right? So if any of those things are missing, that's a violation of due process. So most tickets, they're telling you to pull up somewhere because you violated something. But as you can see, there was no indictment papers, you ain't seeing no affidavit from a human being saying you did X, Y, Z to prepare a proper defense. None of these things are happening, right? So that's due process. Any questions?
So basically, it's fair treatment.
Yeah, it's definitely fair treatment.
Okay.
But of course, you want to know the specifics of the fair treatment. You know what I mean? You want to have that down.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Private property.
All right. Let me see. All right. So let me see here. Transitioning to a document from the FBI. Everybody familiar with the El Rukns? Who's not familiar with the El Rukns?
Not me.
I never heard of it.
Got it, heard.
Okay. So a brother named Jeff Fort, a brother named Chief Malik, and other Moors had an organization called the El Rukns. That was a body politic at Chicago. These Moors were connected with Gaddafi, had a rapport with Gaddafi. This is an FBI transcript, and the reason I'm going through this is for context purposes. We'll have a discussion on the back end. So FBI cracked code from the El Rukns calls, right? You got wiretaps and things of that nature. So this was 1987. The FBI became familiar with the El Rukin Code, in which terrorist plots were allegedly discussed, by listening in on thousands of hours of telephone conversations. According to testimony Wednesday at the federal conspiracy trial of 5 gang members, so they call them gang members. Keep this in mind of how they get down. FBI agent Edward Hamara acquired an extensive knowledge of the El Rukin Code and learned to recognize the voices of El Rukin members. He told Assistant U.S. Attorney Susan Bogart, Hamara said he supervised the tapping of telephone calls at El Rukin headquarters, 3949 South Drexler Boulevard, between April and August 1986. Nah, these Braves, man. 5 El Rukins, including their leader Jeff Fort, are charged with plotting to carry out acts of terrorism in the United States in return for $2.5 million from Libya's Muammar Gaddafi. The code has become the key issue in the trial because virtually all the evidence for the alleged conspiracy is contained in the tapped telephone conversations. Most of the calls were made by Fort, or Jeff Fort, from his prison cell in Texas, and they are incomprehensible to anyone unversed in what one lawyer termed El Rukinese. So they call this code that they're hearing El Rukinese, right? Because they talking in code for these FBI people, right? They can't make out what's being said, right? The 6th accused gang members, they call them gang members, Tremel Davis, helped the prosecution translate dozens of the conversations, incriminating his former gang fellows with his interpretations. Murder plots to blow up airplanes, and plans to send El Rukin members to Libya to train in the use of explosives were among the subjects under discussion, Davis testified. But under cross-examination, Davis was inconsistent in his interpretation of some key words and admitted he had received coaching from the FBI agents as to the meaning of others. So they just assuming they hearing stuff, they just assuming, right? Some code words translated by Davis seem logical. For example, Wyatt Earp, meaning noon, actor or Hollywood for President Reagan, Clark Kent for reporter, and Perry Mason for lawyer. So they assuming that this lingo that they keep hearing means certain things, right? Others, such as canvas for murder, so they assume every time they heard the word canvas, they about to make a hit. That's how the FBI getting down, right? So canvas for murder and farm equipment means explosives were less obvious and have become central to the case. The defense maintains that farm equipment was a reference not to explosives, but to the El Rukin's mosque, and that the gang sought money from Libya only to renovate their mosque. Arthur Ebhard, an FBI chirographer in Washington, testified Thursday that he established that the El Rukins used code because, quote, the conversation didn't make sense, the first sign that a code was being used. He determined words are put into context, so they make Bogart play the tape Wednesday of an uncoded conversation between defendant Leon McAnderson and Charles Knox, an unindicted co-conspirator who was not an El Rukin member and who therefore did not speak the code. Knox described a conversation he had with defendant Rico Crenshaw, in which Crenshaw started talking in unknown tones. I didn't know what he was talking about. I ain't into this code thing. This was what Knox said, right? So as we just heard, he was, these people was coached by the FBI to go to court and say Like, oh no, you make sure you're definite that you know what they're talking about. And they admitting like, man, I don't know what's going on here. Like, you can't make conclusions based on this. This is what he's telling the FBI. His unflattering references to Crenshaw sent the defendants into giggles. Jeff Fort laughed so much he had to wipe tears from his eyes with the hem of the Arab-style robe he was wearing in court. The prosecution plans to arrest the case on Thursday. So this was of course this was in 1987. But as you can see, that they'll grow great lengths to break up national organizations, right? And quick to throw that especially because they were dealing with Gaddafi, you know. It's a smear campaign. And later in the game, I don't know how many know about the Al-Rukns, but of course, you know, some of their members was infiltrating and, you know, turned it into a gang situation. And that's how they was ultimately able to get up in there and break them up. So the moral to the story is keep it national, you know, keep it constitutional, and, you know, the habits and customs around the organization, keeping it looking about, you know, culture and religion. Any little thing can go left. You know, you don't want to know none of that gang atmosphere or even looking like it, because they're gonna come up in there. Any thoughts on this Tribune article?
Whatever ended up happening to them, like
Yeah.
the people being accused.
Well, essentially the heads of the organization been in jail, you know. Jeff Fort, Chief Malik, they've been in jail for a little minute. I'm not sure if one of them got released. I seen like Kanye West and Jeff Fort's son, or Chief Malik's son, was doing like a little tour on like Breakfast Club and different little shows like that. And they were trying to do a campaign, and they were talking about, hey, he's about to get out pretty soon. So that's the last thing I heard about it. But this was like,
What was the charges?
Racketeering and RICO Act.
Two
Damn.
questions. What? So even without an injured party, they was able to get them on what, conspiracy to do stuff to people?
Yeah.
And you think it was because you know, Black Peace Stone Rangers, they were the Black Peace Stone Rangers. So you think because that black was up in there, just like the Black Wall Street, or like that type of energy is, y'all are Black Peace Stone Rangers, so y'all black, y'all property, y'all wards, and then y'all gangbangers, y'all black gangbangers by name.
Mm-hmm. Because to keep it real, that's what was going on. It was certain members that were still in that activity. That's the bottom line. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, Jeff Ford and his brother try to get him up out of that. You know, it's just a national movement, you know. You know, they're trying to clean it up. But when everybody not on the same page, back to the schism, you know. Once they send somebody up in there to disrupt stuff, and now everybody mind all messed up. Oh man, you know, there's no more solidarity. You know what I'm saying? And shit just start crumbling, you know what I mean? So yeah.
You know, I be feeling more Islam. Like, I don't know how old everyone is here today, you know what I mean? But I feel like from gangbanging from my age to where it became and how it grew is a difference, you know what I mean? It's a big difference. Because it's like, at this time, you know, Rodney King beatings, people was getting beat up in the hood a lot. But the Rodney King was, you know, caught on videotape. So it was really about protecting the neighborhoods from all that. And then it became to something else. How does it become to something else is the question, which is COINTELPRO.
Mm-hmm.
They put a seed in there, someone that looked like you, someone that's from you. Either they sold out or they put somebody there to get all of you guys under surveillance right? So when you make deals with this person, they put infiltrated into your shit, it's easy to get you now. It's like if me and you become friends, and now me and you setting up a murder, it don't matter if me and you murdered or not, because now they have the actual conversation between you and I planning to murder somebody.
Conspiracy.
You see what I'm saying? Infiltrated. So that all these are lessons for us, bro. We can't let little things break us apart, bro.
Right.
And that's why I be saying it's very important to communicate with each other. Just not just in the tempo, inside and out. You know, we are the tempo walking with. So if we can't break the ice and do that for each other, bro, then we can forget about it.
Yeah.
Because who is the infantry? Who is the ones that's infiltrating? You don't know who is who now.
Right.
And that's how serious it is. You heard what he said. They trying to break up the national shit. They try to break up national things. They don't care about the black and the Negroes and the color and all that. So I just say that because I have a soft place in my heart for gang banging. You know, I'm a boy that I grew up in the projects, and the gang members that I grew up around, I respect them. You know what I mean? I got love for them. And I didn't see them do the things that the stereotypes about gang members out there. You see what I'm saying? Now, it was a lot of that out there, but you can't control every man, even in the game. You can't control people. But guess what? One man do something, that's on the whole gang. And that's how people get stereotypes, you know what I mean? But because they're gonna look at us like a gang with Fez. That's what they would say about us, even though that's not true. But how do we showcase that to the world? Which one is right? You know?
Yeah. And
But thank you for that, bro.
You know, Islam, and that's the whole point of the whole religion. And the First Amendment is like we got holy books, we got a creed, and that's what's gonna give you that aura. That's what separates the gang members from people that's, you know, on a religious creed and honoring their ancestors. It's supposed to be a different space, you know, divine energy behind that. You know, we want to look like we monks, basically monks, very noble and peaceful people, not all this aggressiveness, everything humble.
True.
You know, the best we can, you know what I'm saying? That's the goal. You know, I know it's hard sometimes, but
no, that makes sense. That's the best sense. You always wanna look like that, bro. I mean, then we approachable. People can conversate with us. You know, just because we're upset, we're not gonna destroy something or somebody or material.
Right.
You know, not even, you know, destroy spirits. And then, you know, you can do that too. You can destroy a person's how they feel. You know, that's important as well too, how you make others feel. So, you know, it all matters. You can do that by looking at you, by how you talk, how you carry yourself. So we got to be aware of those things, you know, to be in that monk like, you know what I mean, lifestyle and stuff like that. Yeah, for sure.
Yep. Islam just listen. We don't want to come off as a threat, you know. That's exactly. You know, we want to come off peaceful. People want to people curiosity to want to. Oh, what's that about? They look real peaceful over there, man. Like, let me get some of that peace in my life. You know, how they managing to do that? You know what I'm saying? Like
they smiling in these times. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But like you say, it start internally, you know, the members in the organization. So that's it's levels. There's definitely levels to this. And like, you know, a lot of our people coming from, like you say, gang banging backgrounds, prison, you know, seen a lot of stuff. So there's a lot of healing that needs to take place. And you know, we're supposed to be here for each other in that regard, to know people's personality set, know how they kind of, you know, why they are the person they are today, and kind of, okay, working with them. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, we're supposed to love each other in that much, where we're taking the time to be like, you know what? I see how his mind frame is working. Let me do this. Let me come like this, you know, to promote more harmony in the situation, because, you know, it's back to everybody feeling, you know, appreciated and loved, and, you know, not judgmental or whatever the case may be.
That's the test of your heart, is where the purity is. It's supposed to be pure, just like the temple is supposed to be. You know what I'm saying? Imitating the prophet. And I was going to tap in and say the reason for the throbes was because of that. you know what I'm saying, look your best. That's why we would wear the throbes, to have that control of the lower self. So you help fight those urges or those temptations of lower self. But even though you're free flowing, you're also not just like, wearing blue jeans that got dye in them and sagging with your pants and your ass all out. You know what I'm saying? Like shit like that. It's you look as you're supposed to. You're looking your best. You basically are imitating that past, present, and future life of your ancestors. You know what I'm saying? You are them without the doubt or contradiction. You know what I'm saying? We just reincarnating ourselves.
Yeah, at the same time, I feel like we still have to like demonstrate
Racing.
some type of some form of not, I won't say like violence. I would say some form of training, martial arts, proving that we are equipped to, defend ourselves. But at the same time, this is what we rather be like this. But it can go to there, because like we say, we all say this. We need a military, we need this, we need that. Then it all starts with yourself. You know what I mean? You have to train yourself and put yourself in a place where you could defend yourself physically, emotionally, and mentally.
And that
Yeah,
starts knowing that stuff. Must know that.
this
No,
brings
go
a
ahead,
lot
Lou.
of thank you, man. This brings a lot of clarity to me too, because I was curious about, like, I was working with somebody from Chicago, and I showed him, like, like, oh, is there Moors? You familiar with the Moors out there? And I showed him like I think it was Mafio's music video, and he's like, oh, those are the Vice Lords. I never brought that up, you know what I'm saying? But I knew it was deeper than that. I always wanted to ask the question, but it's really not, I didn't see it as important because I see everybody's heart. And then as far as like the military, that'll come. But I think the most important thing is getting, integrating shadow and doing all the work and tapping in the higher self, because everything will fall into place. Like even with Brother Jamal did, that's cool and all, but we don't want to draw attention to ourselves either. Like, I think it's better to conceal the weapon. And, if, as long as we know martial arts, what I'm saying, we're physically fit, we're taking care of our bodies. What's the point of barking? If, we don't want to bark, but, and
No,
we
you're
definitely
right.
don't want to bite. But so if it goes there, that's why, we train and all that. Take care of
You have to
ourselves.
do that, but it just have to be done differently. Like it's nothing wrong with what any man chooses to do. That's what we have to all agree to.
Yeah,
That's that man. But I think it's the point of it being tactical. It has to be they can't see what you're doing. Because that's easy. I know what you're doing. I know what you got. I know how many of you.
They've
That's an
already
easy
painted.
plan.
They've already
Now, if we
painted the picture for like indigenous people to look, especially with the whole Islam thing, and they want to throw